Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NFL 2017 predictions. This is week number 4, and as always, we will be going through each and every week 3 game, talking a little bit about the game, going over my picks from last week, and then going on to picking every game in the NFL this upcoming week here in week number 4. So the first 2 weeks we started off really well in terms of predictions. Week 1 we went 12-3. Week 2 we went 13-3. Week 3 was a little bit of a struggle. There was a lot of upsets in the NFL this week. We went 9-7 in the picks this week, which brings our season total after 3 weeks to 34-13. So still pretty proud of that. Nothing to be ashamed of. Of all the picks I got wrong, 6 of the 7 most people actually picked to win, so only one I went out on a limb for, and they ended up disappointing me. But all the other ones were teams that were picked by most people on ESPN.com. Then I also got one basically 50-50 game right, and then I got 2 underdogs right. So overall, I still finished above average by 1 game, even though I only got 9 right. That's how tricky of a week it was, and it all started Thursday night with the Los Angeles Rams going to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. I said that I didn't think either team was any good, and I still necessarily don't, but I was going to go with the team that at least showed some life in their first 2 games, and that was the Rams, especially in their first game. So I just went with them to win on the road, just because I don't have any confidence in the 49ers. This game was actually really good, surprisingly. It was back and forth, but the Rams ended up pulling away near the end of the first half and kind of just held off the 49ers just enough. 49ers kept trying to come back, but the Rams would just keep them at bay for the most part. Pretty even matchup in terms of production. Each team had about 420 yards of offense. They had even time of possession. They each had 2 turnovers. The Rams only had 1 more first down, 26-25. Actually a pretty good game, which is surprising, A, given the teams, and 2, given the fact that Thursday night football games are usually always crap. But we ended up getting the pick right for this one, as I chose the Rams over the Niners. Didn't expect this high scoring from either team, but we got it right. Then the next game was the Ravens going to London to play the Jaguars. I picked the Ravens, as did 88% of people on ESPN.com. Yikes. The Jaguars win this game 44-7. And the Ravens' only touchdown came with 3 minutes left. This game was 44-0, basically. I really don't know what to say about this game. I don't think a person on this planet expected this outcome. Most people didn't even expect the Jaguars to win, let alone destroy the Ravens. I said it even last week. I didn't think the Ravens were a great team, but, you should beat the Jaguars. But I don't know. Look at the Jaguars. They had 410 yards of offense to the Ravens 186. They had 34 minutes possession to the Ravens 25. Ravens turned it over 3 times. Jaguars none. Jaguars doubled the first down total of the Ravens. Blake Bortles, who is a dumpster fire, goes 20 for 31 for 244 and 4 touchdowns. Joe Flacco goes 8 for 18, 28 yards, 2 interceptions. He gets benched. Ryan Mallett comes in, goes 6 for 9, 36 yards, and throws that garbage time touchdown. Not really a whole lot to say about this one. This was just an ass beating, surprisingly, and the Jaguars got it done, so we got that pick wrong. Then the next game was the Atlanta Falcons going on the road to take on my Detroit Lions. I said I'm not picking the Lions because this is just a game that the Lions don't win. And if anybody saw this game, the Lions should have won. And I'm not just being salty. A, the 10-second runoff rule is stupid because the Lions last year had a play at Minnesota where they threw a 27-yard pass with 10 seconds left, and they ran up to the spot of the ball and spiked it with 2 seconds left. So it only took them 8 seconds to run 27 yards downfield and spike the football. But by rule, they're saying that this last play, 8 seconds left, Lions wouldn't have had time to line up at the half-yard line and spike it, or run another play. I think it was going to be 4th down, so they would have had to run another play. But still. So even if A, you think he was down, which he most likely was, there's no definitive proof. The best angle, technically, yes, it's pretty obvious his knee was down, but you actually can't see it because there's a Falcons player helmet blocking where his knee would be touching the ground. But so even if he was down, the Lions were punished that the referees got it wrong and the game's over. When in reality, they would have had time to line back up and at least try a quarterback dive over the middle or something. Anyway, I'm just proud of the Detroit Lions in this game. I said, if you want respect, go out there and earn it with this game. And they earned it because they proved that they could beat anybody in the league with that performance. And I think the Falcons are the best team in the league. Patriots have looked shaky. Packers look shaky. I mean, the Chiefs, come on, I don't think they're the best team in the league. They're pretty damn good. But I think the Falcons are the best team in the league. Sure, it was at home, but the Lions proved that they could beat them. Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions. 2 of them really weren't his fault. I believe another one, it technically went off a wide receiver, but it wasn't a very good throw. Other than that, Lions, pretty even matchup, really. It was the 3 turnovers that gave the Lions the chance to win, sure, but Lions defense played really well. Lions offense did enough. Stafford was 25 for 45, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 264. Matt Ryan was 24, 35, 294, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Lions running game, again, not special. But yeah, I'm just proud of the Lions. I knew they wouldn't get it done, and of course, only the Lions find another way to lose by some wacky rule or some wacky ruling on the last play of the game. And by the way, they called it a touchdown on the field, and no other team has that overturned on them. Case in point, the Cowboys on Monday night or Sunday night. I don't even remember when the game was. That Dez Bryant touchdown? Yeah, it was Monday night. That Dez Bryant touchdown that they called on the field? Come on. But of course, they don't have the balls to overturn that on the Cowboys, but they'll overturn it on the Lions. That's life as a Lions fan. However, this game made me feel pretty damn good, even with a loss. Because for the first time in my life, I can legitimately say the Lions have a good football team. And that they have a chance to win every single game that they play. And for the first time in my life, I'm not going to be happy with anything less than a division title. Usually just getting the wild card's good enough for the Lions. No, win the fucking division this year. Come on. You've never won the NFC North. Your last division title was 1991 in the NFC Central. Win the fucking NFC North. Moving on. We got that pick right. It was the Denver Broncos going on the road to take on the Buffalo Bills. I said it last week. I picked the Broncos, but I said it wouldn't surprise me at all to be close. It's a 1 p.m. game. Broncos coming from the West Coast, basically, Mountain Time Zone. I didn't quite expect the Bills to win, but I definitely said it's certainly possible. But they won by 10. They win 26-16. Tyrod Taylor goes 20 for 26 for 213 and 2 touchdowns. He had a great game. Trevor Siemian, he had 2 great games to start the year. Finally fell back to earth a little bit in this one. He goes 24 for 40, 259 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Broncos don't really get anything going on the ground. They only get 111 on the game. Their leading rusher was Jamal Charles. He had 56 yards on 9 carries. Buffalo didn't have a great rushing game either, but this game was aided by the Broncos' turnover. They turned it over twice with those 2 Trevor Siemian interceptions, and the Bills just took advantage of them. And they ended up getting the job done, and, you just got to tip your cap to the Bills. They played a good game and picked up the win, so we got that pick wrong. Which brings us to another pick that we got wrong, and most people got wrong. 98% of people picked the Steelers to go into Chicago and beat the Bears. I mentioned it multiple times last week that these games are dangerous. When you have a 2-0 team going on the road to take on an 0-2 team, you got to look out for these games. And I said it about this game as well. But I still thought the Steelers would win. But these teams are desperate. You go 0-2, your season's pretty much done. You go 0-3, you can start planning your January vacation if you're an NFL player. So that's why these games are tricky. 0-2 teams are playing for their lives. 2-0 teams, it's just human nature. They're not going to be as desperate as the team they're playing. Then you add in the factor that the Bears were at home. It doesn't surprise me to see them win. I obviously didn't think they would since I picked the Steelers. But like I said, you can go back to last week's video, and I specifically say, these games are tricky. They're not surprising to see the underdog win in these scenarios. The Bears end up winning 23-17 in overtime. Mike Glennon goes 15 for 22, 101, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Very bland. Roethlisberger goes 22 for 39, 235, 1 touchdown. Le'Veon Bell only 61 yards on 50 carries. Jordan Howard picks up 138 yards with 2 touchdowns and 23 carries. Le'Veon Bell had a touchdown, by the way. Antonio Brown, he did his job. He catches 10 balls for 110 yards and a touchdown. Obviously not a lot going on in the receiving department of the Bears. Jordan Howard led the team in yards and catches. So Matt Forte 2.0 out there. Each team turned it over twice. Bears outgained the Steelers by 22 yards. Other than that, a pretty even game. Bears went into halftime up 17-7 after that blocked field goal that idiot fumbled at the goal line. Luckily, the Steelers got called for illegal batting, and the Bears were able to line up and kick a field goal. Which, by the way, going back to the Lions, remember that game against the Seahawks? Fumble at the goal line. Seahawks player illegally bats it out of the end zone. Seahawks win. There was like 3 seconds left. Or like 40 seconds left. There's time left. Lions should have had the ball. First and goal from the 1. And would have won that game. But what do you know? But now they call it illegal batting. Okay. Anyway, Steelers end up tying it with 8 minutes left. Nothing happens for the rest of the game. Bears get the ball in overtime. On their second possession of overtime, and they score with 8:27 left off of a 19-yard Jordan Howard touchdown run. So we got that pick wrong as well. The next game was a 50-50 game on ESPN. 54% of people picked the team that I picked, which was the correct pick. The Indianapolis Colts defeat the Cleveland Browns at home. I like the Browns this year. I don't think... I said it last week. I actually said it the week before. They're going to be in every game they play, I think, or most games, not every game. And they've proven that to an extent, and this was probably their best chance for a win. I don't know what their schedule is in the upcoming weeks, but the Colts aren't any good. But at home, I just had to roll with the Colts since it was pretty much a 50-50 game in my opinion. Jacoby Brissett had a nice game. He went 17 for 24, 259 and a touchdown. Kaiser goes 22 for 47, 242, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, so not a good game for him. He also led the team with rushing on 44 yards off of 7 carries. He also had a touchdown. Frank Gore, somehow still alive, has 25 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown for the Colts. T.Y. Hilton had 7 catches, 153 yards and a touchdown for the Colts. Pretty even game offensively outside of the turnovers. Cleveland actually moved the ball really well, but those 3 interceptions really killed them. Right near the end of the second half, it was actually 28-7 Colts. Cleveland does a nice job of getting a touchdown at the end of the half, and they end up going down only 3 points with 2 minutes left, but they were unable to get the ball back from the Colts. And that was pretty much the story, so we got that pick right. Then we had the Miami Dolphins going on the road to take on the New York Jets. I said last week I didn't think the Jets would win. I thought they'd have trouble finding a team to beat. I like their chances in this one at home, 0-2 against a 1-0 team, Jay Cutler. But the Miami Dolphins really surprised me in their first game, but now they've regressed to the team that I thought they would be already. So the Jets actually end up winning 20-6. Another garbage time points makes the story look a little different. It was 20-0 until the Dolphins score with literally no time left on the clock, and then they missed a PAT. But yeah, this game, the Jets defense has played really well. They only allowed 225 yards of offense. Each team had 16 first downs, though, so it really wasn't a great offensive performance by either team, especially Jay Cutler. 26 for 44, 220 yards, a touchdown, and the obligatory Jay Cutler interception. Josh McCown goes 18 for 23 for 249 and a touchdown, so a really good game for his standards. No rushing to speak of on either side, especially Miami. They only had 30 yards of rushing. And not a whole lot went on in the receiving department either. Pretty boring game. Pretty surprised to see the Jets pull it off. Although, if they were going to do it, it was going to be in this one. And then we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going on the road to take on the Minnesota Vikings. I said last week, if Case Keenum plays, I like the Bucs. If Bradford plays, I like the Vikings because it's pretty 50-50. Even though Bradford sucks, I think he would put them over the edge. Well, it turns out Case Keenum played, so my pick was wrong because the Vikings beat the Buccaneers 34-17. Case Keenum goes 25 for 33, 369 yards and 3 touchdowns. What in the hell is going on there? I don't know. It didn't help that Jameis Winston goes 28 for 40 for 328, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and the Bucs only had 26 yards rushing to the Vikings 125. That won't help. Stephon Diggs goes 8 for 173 and 2 touchdowns receiving. Great game by him. This game was pretty much all Vikings. They played mistake-free football and capitalized on the Buccaneers' mistakes. They jumped out to a 21-3 halftime lead, added to it to begin the third quarter, and then just kind of coasted the rest of the way to the 34-17 final. So we got that pick wrong. Then we had the Houston Texans taking on the New England Patriots in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Pretty surprising game here. The Patriots end up winning 36-33, as most people had it, as I had it. But it took nearly the last play of the game to do so. The Patriots were down 33-28 until a 25-yard touchdown pass from Brady to Brandon Cooks with 23 seconds left to give the Patriots the lead and ultimately the win. Texans actually had the lead for the majority of the game. It went back and forth a little bit, a couple of ties, but for the most part, Texans had the lead. They outgained the Patriots 417-396. They had more time of possession, they had more first downs, but they had an extra turnover. And the Patriots defense, I think it's safe to say, is not good. They didn't look good against the Chiefs. They didn't look good against the Saints. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt against the Texans, whose offense hasn't looked good. And they have a coming out party against the Patriots. Patriots are in trouble this year. Tom Brady will bail them out, and they'll coast to another AFC East championship with probably 11 or 12 wins. But I just don't see this team getting very far in the playoffs if they keep playing like this on defense. It is not good. Tom Brady goes 25 for 35, 378 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Deshaun Watson goes 22 for 33, 301, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So a decent game for him in only his third game, but the turnovers were costly. 125-yard rushing for the Texans compared to only 59 for the Patriots. Brandon Cooks had a nice game, 5 catches, 131 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Patriots escape with the win, but I mean, that was scary. You gotta be a little bit nervous about your team if you're a Patriots fan. So we got the pick right on that, which brings us to the next game, which was the New Orleans Saints at 0-2 hitting the road to take on the 2-0 Carolina Panthers. Another case of a desperate team against a not-so-desperate team. However, on the road, I went with the Panthers. Proved to be the wrong choice as the Saints win 34-13. They take a 7-3 lead near the end of the first quarter. Go into half with a 17-6 lead, build on that, and then just kind of take care of business in the second half. They end up with that 34-13 victory. They only had 362 yards of offense, which isn't a ton for the Saints, but their defense actually stepped up and did a great job. I don't think Cam Newton's the same quarterback we saw 2 years ago. He obviously wasn't last year, and so far this year, I haven't seen much to change my opinion on that. I think that this Carolina Panthers team is closer to the team we saw last year than the team we saw go to the Super Bowl. Not saying they're going to be as bad as last year. I think they'll be a little better, but they're closer to that than they were the Super Bowl team. Cam Newton goes 17 for 26 for only 167 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Terrible game for him. Meanwhile, Drew Brees goes 22 for 29, 222, 3 touchdowns. Great game for him. Not a whole lot to speak of otherwise. Christian McCaffrey led the Panthers with 9 catches for 101 yards. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about the NFC South in general right now, but we got that pick incorrect, which brings us to our next pick that we did get correct. It was the Philadelphia Eagles knocking off the New York Giants. I said they'd end their season, and they do with a 27-24 win. Giants are done. Eagles take a 14-0 lead with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Giants rally, score 3 quick touchdowns to actually make it 21-14. Eagles respond with a quick touchdown of their own to tie it back up. Giants go back down the field and add a field goal. Eagles come back and have the tying field goal with 51 seconds left. Then they get the ball back after a 3-and-out for the Giants. And they go 29 yards down the field, and with no seconds left, Jake Elliott hits a 61-yard field goal to win the game for the Eagles. And again, the Giants offense actually had a lot of yards, but they had the 2 turnovers, and that 3-and-out at the end really cost them the game. So good job by the Eagles. Eli Manning, even when he does good, he doesn't do good. He had 35 for 47 for 366 and 3 touchdowns. Sounds great, but he had 2 interceptions. Carson Wentz goes 21 for 31, 176 and a touchdown. The Eagles have 193 yards rushing to the Giants' 49. Odell Beckham has 2 touchdowns. Shepard leads the team with 133 yards off of 7 catches. He also had a touchdown. So the Giants' season is over, barring a miracle. Eagles moved to 2-1, and we get the pick right. Then another pick we got right. Only 43% of people on ESPN.com picked them. I was one of them. I had the Titans over the Seahawks at home. Seahawks haven't impressed me at all. They're going on the road to take on the Titans. I just like the Titans. So I went with them, and it worked out. This game really wasn't as close as it seemed. The Titans go into halftime with a 9-7 lead. But by the end of the third quarter, they are up 30-14. Seahawks get an early touchdown in the fourth to make it a 10-point game. Titans respond with a field goal to go up 33-20. And then with under 2 minutes to go, the Seahawks make it the 6-point differential that would be the final of 33-27. But just not a great game yet again by the Seahawks. No turnovers for either team, but just unable to finish drives where the Seahawks. Each team is only 4 for 14 on third down. Russell Wilson goes 29 for 49, 373, 4 touchdowns. He actually had a pretty good game through the air besides all the incomplete passes. Marcus Mariota goes 20 for 32 for 225, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, the team that rushes the ball more wins the game. It's not a cliche. You got to run the ball. Seattle only 69 yards rushing to the Titans 195. DeMarco Murray had 115 yards and only 14 carries and a touchdown. Helped by that 75-yard touchdown, but still, great game by him. Doug Baldwin had 105 yards receiving and a touchdown and 10 catches. He was the leading receiver on the day. So, as I mentioned last week, the NFC West doesn't look any good. And I think that is evident as the Los Angeles Rams are in first place at 2-1. Then you got the 0-3 Niners and the 1-2 Seahawks and Cardinals. But we got the pick right for this one, which brings us to the next game, which we also got right. Most people did, and I was disappointed with it because A, it's the Packers, and B, I'm in a survivor pool, and had the Packers lost, 52 people would have been eliminated. It was the Packers and the Bengals. I picked the Packers at home over the sorry Bengals. The Bengals actually showed up, though, at least to begin. They end up with 300 yards of offense. Only 4 for 12 on third down, but they started off pretty good. They had more time of possession than the Packers. Each team turned it over once. The Bengals actually had a 21-7 lead at halftime. They built on that a little bit near the end of the third quarter to go up 7 after the Packers came back a little. It was 24-17. Packers marched down the field and tie the game with 17 seconds left. And then in overtime, their second possession, Packers get the ball and go down the field and kick a 27-yard field goal to win. Andy Dalton was 21 for 27, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Okay game, but he made a lot of mistakes. Aaron Rodgers goes 28 for 42, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Pretty baseline game for him. Nothing too impressive. The Bengals actually 110 yards rushing to the Packers 64. But if anybody would find a way to lose after almost doubling the other team's rushing yards, it would be the Bengals this year. AJ Green, 10 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Some goofball in the Packers, I don't even know how to say the guy's name, Geronimo Allison, leads the team with 102 yards receiving on 6 catches. So what do you know, another no-name Packer making a difference. Bengals choke, we got the pick right. The next game was a pick I got wrong. It was another underdog that I picked. It was the case of a 2-0 team against an 0-2 team on the road. Divisional game. Thought maybe the Chargers would pull it out against the Chiefs, but they do not. The Chiefs end up winning 24-10, but it was a little closer than it looked. It was 17-10 at halftime, and the Chiefs did not end up pulling away until under 2 minutes to go when Kareem Hunt had a 70-yard touchdown run to make it 24-10. And the turnover battle was a big difference in this one as the Chargers turn it over 3 times and the Chiefs don't turn it over at all. I think that ended up being the difference in this one as the Chargers had the ball quite a bit and a lot of opportunities to tie the game, and they just never could get it done. And they kept turning the ball over. Alex Smith goes 16 for 21, 155, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So not a very good game by him. All of his passes were, as usual, just dump-offs. Not even 160 yards passing on 16 completions, but you can't be mad at him. He got the win. He didn't turn the ball over. Phillip Rivers, on the other hand, goes 20 for 40, 237 yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That has to be one of his worst performances of his career. Chargers pick up 104 yards rushing, 79 of which off of Melvin Gordon. Kansas City picks up 189-yard rushings, 172 of those off of Kareem Hunt on 17 carries. So the Chiefs pick up the win. We get the pick wrong, which leads us to Sunday Night Football, where only 10% of people picked the team that won, and the team I picked. I picked the Redskins at home, primetime, to beat the Raiders. Just had a feeling. And they beat them pretty good, 27-10. And that is not even close to what this score should have been. The Redskins outgained the Raiders 472 to 128. They had 18 first downs to the Raiders' 7. They had 38 minutes of possession to the Raiders' 22. Raiders turn it over 3 times. Redskins do it twice. Raiders were 0 for 11 on third down. Redskins were 7 for 15 on third down. This game was actually 14-0 at half. 21-0 early in the third. Raiders get a touchdown near the end of the third. Then just 3 field goals, 2 for the Redskins, 1 for the Raiders in the fourth. This game was pretty boring, actually, but the Redskins roll. They played well, especially on defense. Derek Carr, only 19 for 31, 118 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Kirk Cousins goes 25 for 30, 365, 3 touchdowns. He had a great game. Marshawn Lynch only carries the ball 6 times for 18 yards. He had a long of 5. The Raiders only had 32 yards rushing, and the Redskins had 116, led by Perrine's 49 yards and 19 carries. Obviously not a lot through the air to speak of for the Raiders either, with only 118 yards passing. Chris Thompson, though, for the Redskins, catches 6 balls for 150 yards and a touchdown. He had a long of 74. So the Redskins with an impressive win in primetime. Speaking of which, another NFC East team in primetime, I picked the Cowboys to go on the road and beat the Cardinals, as did most people. And they do. They win 28-17 in the final game of the week. Not a lot to speak about on this one. Nobody turned the ball over. Cardinals actually outgained the Cowboys and held the ball longer. Cowboys were only 2 for 9 on third down, while the Cardinals were 8 for 18. But the Cardinals just could not finish drives. They actually took a 7-0 lead, and that was the score until late in the first half. It was 7-7 at halftime. At the end of 3, it was actually 14-14. And with 6:35 to go, the Cardinals hit a field goal to make it 21-17. But the Cowboys respond with a quick touchdown. They go 75 yards in only 4 plays to put the game away at 28-17. Not a super impressive game by the Cowboys, but anytime you go in on the road, Monday Night Football, and get a 2-possession win, you can't really be upset with it. So we got the pick right on that one, which leads us into week number 4. As I mentioned, after 3 weeks, we are now 34-13 in our NFL picks. So let's just mow through this week 4 selections. As always, this is usually the quicker segment of my NFL predictions because we just went over everybody's game. We don't need to rehash it. Let's just jump in. You guys know what's going on with these teams, and I'll tell you why I think Team A beats Team B. So the first game is the Green Bay Packers at home, Thursday Night Football, taking on the Chicago Bears. This one is an easy pick. While the Packers haven't played great football, you can't go against the Packers at home, especially in primetime, especially against a team like the Bears. So give me the Packers to beat the Bears. And then we got the New Orleans Saints going up against the Miami Dolphins in London. That's right, another London game. I completely forgot about last week's London game. I woke up at like 12:50 or whatever, 10 minutes before kickoff, and I look at the ESPN app. I don't know. I just looked at it, and I saw that the Jaguars were winning 44-0 at that point. I was like, what? Oh yeah, I guess they were in London. I mean, first I had to get over the fact that the Jaguars were beating anybody 44-0, but then I remembered about the London game. But, so we got another one, Saints, Dolphins. I mean, Dolphins looked good in the first game, but I didn't expect them to be any good, and they look like complete crap against the Jets. Both of these teams aren't very good. I think this might actually be a decent game, although, I don't know. Saints might blow them out. Either way, I think Saints are the obvious pick for this one. Hopefully it's a good game for the people in London. They always seem to get crap-tastic games. I remember when the Lions were over there, they got a great one, though. Lions were down 21-0 at half against the Falcons. Ended up winning. Falcons are used to those second half collapses. Anyway, speaking of the Falcons, that's the next game on the list. It's the Falcons at home against the Bills. Bills coming off of an impressive win at home against the Broncos. But you got to go with the Falcons at home, especially against a team like the Bills. So give me the Falcons to win that one. And then we got the battle of the 0-3 Ohio teams. We got the Cincinnati Bengals on the road to take on the Cleveland Browns. I'm doing it again, boys. My second time this year, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns to win a football game. If the Bengals beat the Packers, I'd go with them because they'd be feeling good about themselves. They'd be like, hey, we can salvage this season. But when they choke like they do against the Packers, I don't think they're going to be feeling great about going to play anybody. Browns, they're a young team. They're not expecting to be a good team this year like the Bengals were. So them at 0-3, they're not down in the dumps about it. They're feeling good about their chances of winning a game, especially at home. So give me the Browns to beat the Bengals. That's an underdog pick. It looks like at least 75% of people on ESPN are taking the Bengals. Give me the Browns. Then we got the Los Angeles Rams hitting the road to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Most people heavily in favor of the Cowboys. I am as well. I still don't think the Rams are a good team. They scored a lot of points against two really bad teams in the Colts and the 49ers. So until proven otherwise, give me the Cowboys over the Rams at home. And then we got the 2-1 Detroit Lions taking on the 2-1 Minnesota Vikings. NFC North has 3 2-1 teams. The Lions on the road against the Vikings. They beat them in both games last year. It'll be tough to beat them again here, especially with how good their defense is. But the Lions' defense has been phenomenal after 3 games. They had 3 interceptions against Matt Ryan, 2 against Carson Palmer. How many do they have against Eli? At least 1 against Eli. Now you're going up against Case fucking Keenum or Sam Bradford, best case scenario. I'm sorry, but I like the Lions' offense against the Vikings' defense a lot more than I like the Vikings' offense against the Lions' defense. I think the Lions win a close one on the road against the Vikings. Then we got the Tennessee Titans going to Houston to take on the Texans. Looks like the Titans have slightly more picks in this one. But I'm going to go with the Texans. They're feeling inspired after that close win against the Patriots on the road. They're coming back home. They're 1-2. They know they need a win. Titans might be feeling a little too good about themselves. I think they're going to get themselves caught in a trap. Texans defense will step up, and Deshaun Watson will continue his upward progress and put together a good enough game to get the win. Give me the Texans over the Titans. Then we got the Carolina Panthers on the road to take on the New England Patriots. I told you the Patriots defense looks like they're in trouble. They legitimately do not look very good. But give me Tom Brady at home any day of the week, especially against the Panthers team that I'm not convinced is back to being a very good team. Patriots over the Panthers. And now on the road is the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the New York Jets. How is Jacksonville playing? I don't know. I thought you got an automatic bye if you played in London the next week. I don't know. Anyway, I guess the Jaguars are back at it. So this might be a little tricky. You got the Jets at home against the team coming off of a London trip. But with the way the Jaguars dismantled the Ravens and with the way that the Jets are probably the worst team in the league despite winning last week, give me the Jaguars to beat the Jets on the road. Speaking of a team that's going to win on the road, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers going into Baltimore. I rest my case. Sure, Pittsburgh lost to the Bears. Well, the Ravens got destroyed by the Jaguars. I don't care if this game's in Baltimore. Wouldn't surprise me if the Ravens win, but there's no reason to go with the Ravens right now. Give me the Steelers over the Ravens on the road. Then we got the 0-3 New York going down to Tampa to take on the 1-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay not feeling very good coming off of that trip to Minnesota. However, they're back home and they're playing an offense that isn't very good. We'll see what the Giants are made of, because I think if the Giants really are feeling it mentally, they'll win this game. I think even if they're on the road, I think the Giants are, on paper, a better team, on defense especially. But, you'll be hard-pressed to find an 0-3 team being giddy about going and playing anybody, especially a team that had high expectations. So I like the Buccaneers to pick up their second win of the year at home against the Giants in this one. Then we got another winless team, the Los Angeles Chargers, back at home, this time taking on the Philadelphia Eagles coming off of their exciting victory. Chargers just don't look good. I don't know how else to put it. Sure, they're at home, but with the way you've seen the outcomes of their fans, it will A, be half full at best, and B, of the half full arena, half the people there will be Eagle fans. So give me the Eagles in Los Angeles over the Chargers. Then we got an NFC matchup. Arizona Cardinals hosting the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers aren't good at all. Cardinals seem to be below average at best. But they're at home, and they're a little better. So give me the Cardinals over the 49ers. Then we got the Denver Broncos at home. AFC West matchup against the Oakland Raiders. Broncos each team has a bad taste in their mouth after losing road games. I think these teams are pretty even. I think the Broncos have a slightly better defense. Plus, they're at home. Give me the Broncos over the Raiders. Then we got Sunday Night Football. Indianapolis Colts going into Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Colts are really bad. Seahawks look pretty bad. Seahawks at home tonight. Give me them over the Colts. Might be a pretty ugly game to watch, though. Then we got Monday Night Football. The Washington Redskins going into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. This might actually be a pretty damn good game, I think. Monday Night Footballs have been flopping a lot recently. I think this one could be back and forth. But you got to go with the Chiefs in Arrowhead, especially at primetime Monday Night Football. So give me the Chiefs over the Redskins in a close one. I'm even going to give you the score on this one. Chiefs win 31-24. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Every time I look, I'm surprised to see even 50 views and like 8 thumbs up. So I really appreciate you guys, especially if you listen to this whole damn thing. Because I'm no expert. I mean, I do have a pretty good record, toot own horn, I know. But I appreciate any and all listeners, especially those of you that comment below either about my predictions or give me some of your own. Always welcome. Be sure to subscribe as we break down all of these week's games next week. And, of course, predict all the games next week as well. So thank you all for watching. And as always, I will see you next week. Goodbye.